This is Justin Scoop on Wednesday, December 17th, 2025. And two things really stood out to me today. So, where we ended up closing is really close to these two opens that this one followed after a day that did do a little bit of selling past that point. Obviously, not from much higher up like we had today, selling way down, but we're kind of in that range that, I mean, if this isn't just a pullback and this is more of the bears getting going, it it's not that much further to go back down to the bottom of that channel there, or even a little bit further and kind of match with the lows of both of these. So is that going to happen tomorrow, Thursday? I think there's some announcement. It's entirely possible. I'm not sure what the news is, but there's something. It's possible. So we had a really nice rest up here. I was calling it looking like it was like an island sort of thing up here. Um, we closed the gap here yesterday, and then today here we are taking out that high wave candle. This, we've had a couple high wave candles here that now we're below this, and bears could totally come in. I mean, this can just be a really massive distribution up here, and we're ready to go back down some more into an older support, 6,500, 6,550. We were coming into both those values through here. Entirely possible. So just don't want to ignore that. Okay. So then if we dive into the 3 minute, I took this screenshot earlier and kind of drew on this. So you had the same framework that played into yesterday, playing out again today, where we kind of retested back up into a little bit the apex, but also right into the low bottom edge of that descending triangle. And so if you look at today through that lens, you had a lot of just chop right here yesterday. You got a lot of chop right here today. All of that was contending with this sort of consolidation here. And, this goes back, I just drew, it goes back into Friday and Monday. And then Tuesday gave us a little bit of this sort of dip and then rolled back over today. And so that was the point that I grabbed this screenshot just to be like, hey, look, we're actually selling off. If that's the sell off, great, we did it, and it bounced back up, not quite to the purple line. We got another. So if you look at, so that's the second thing. Like, look at how this just kind of swung back around, and then S curve down lower, right? You kind of have a little bit of that today, where you've got kind of this curve here, and on Friday, we were kind of sideways, flat into the close, or went down back up, kind of flat into the close. Yesterday, we had a rally into the close. Today, we kind of took a bit of a dive into the close. We definitely did not get the continuation back up like we got yesterday here, right? Didn't play out the same way. This was more of, if you squeeze all of this down from yesterday, it really looks like right here. And then it didn't actually keep going back up. It started to collapse again, and then it put another one, a little bit of a curve here. All right, so it's slowly giving up that level. I will say, let me delete some of this. Delete, where's my eraser? There we go. I'm gonna get rid of some of these things and just look at what are the shapes going on here. Okay, get rid of this, there we go. Okay, so this is a really bigger shape, but still kind of like this curve. And then this one's a little bit smaller, and this one's smaller still. And they're going slightly lower. Like the low here is here, and the low on this one is here, and the low on this one is here. I'm just seeing this get fractal and get smaller. And technically, you even say, oh, hey, look, we did another even smaller one here. That fits with the fractal environment of the market. It's kind of cool to see. Now, this is the one where it doesn't really fit. It didn't really get into a lower low than this, kind of relative. So maybe that starts to break down, or maybe we'll have more to go tomorrow. If we see this sort of pattern setting up earlier in the day where we've got a lot of chop, a lot of indecision, I mean, it could totally break down again. It broke down yesterday here and broke down today here. could totally break down again, and we could play out that sort of pattern. Just have to wait and see if that's what it's going to do. Mitigate your risk, know what you're doing to click the buttons, how much you're risking, and then know where your targets are. But right now, we have moved through these purple lines that we're holding up really nicely as some level of some support here. We got above that. We stayed on the top one here. It's been a while since we were down below the bottom one, but when we were, we had this much more sizable move. This was going back to, was this the Fed announcement rate decision last month? I think that was this day. So much more significant move that day. The other thing I do want to show on here is, or was it? One of these lows? No, it wasn't that. Where's the yellow one? Something looked like a similar size or similar angle to this one, was it? I think. Let me see if I can pull this over. And I've got an alarm going off. Trying to be done. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna move that over and move that over again. Oh, it's right there. That's why. I don't have to keep moving that. Okay, so from right here, I was trying to line this up and be like, okay, does this match anything else we've got going on over here? And all of a sudden, it just fit right here. So the same place that we had some consolidation and then broke down, this is the next point that we kind of retested back up into with enough time going by. That's the nice thing about an angle like this is it works as an angle, it works as a resistance on a trend. But it also, so you can see how that's lining up both yesterday and this consolidation, and then here's a touch point, and we broke through that and continued lower. But today it hit here, and then it didn't hit until here. And that was the next kind of high that it interacted with. But what I was going to say is, these work as like an angle, like a trend. Like you can say, okay, this is a downtrend channel. Like there you go. Here's the high, here's the low. We're touching both. Okay, it keeps moving. But it can also be something that happens in time. At this angle, we're going down. How much time has to go by? How much further down do we go before we come back up into it? So you can see that with, if I move this back over here, you can see that it's like, okay, well, from here, we had to go a certain amount of time down to get to this level where we're bouncing off of that, and then a certain amount of time back up. Could have come back up over here, could have come back, just at that angle, it's a rate, it's a trend, it's working. It's a level to interact with at some point in the future. We just don't know when exactly that's going to be. If you said, oh, it'll be at this time, it'll be at 10:30 in the morning, it's going to be up here. Well, no, it's not. But if at some point later in the day it hits that, it's like, okay, well, that's worth considering. It's what's that going to do here? That's probably a pretty good resistance. That's a good place to look for it to continue to roll back down, or at least just not get above that, because look what it had to do to get up to that level. I don't know if there's another one on the bottom side of this. It doesn't really seem to fit. Multiple touches. It wasn't as clean on the bottom side, but on the top, for sure. Definitely looks like it's interacting with those 2 points, but it's matching an angle that I've had from a little while back. So there's that. That I thought that was interesting to show that on here. And I think the green one also was shown up. Let me duplicate this and move that back over to today. So I think the consolidation that got, yeah. So where these are now overlapping, kind of get into the highs through here, and then you have additional resistance to this. It's like, okay, hey, right here around noon, this is a great place to run into that resistance and roll back down and see what we can do with some options. So this point might be later on, but into the afternoon, if you're trading them, you can see the calls really have not gotten any buying. The little bit of buying this 67.50 call had going from the low here out of the money by 100 points to or by 10 points, excuse me, to in the money by 10 points. It doesn't look like much on the chart if I zoom it out a little bit. It moves some, but it didn't really get into contention with the previous highs here. Yeah, we broke down the low and then recovered back into the range, but we didn't take that out, even though we had some other highs just prior here. It looks like it's battling on the call. And on the put, right at this time, we were coming down to some lows. Okay, we've got some lows here. We're taking out the low. It's like, is it going to keep moving? And instead, it starts to reverse and gets going. And so this is more of an expensive one. The 6750 put is more of an expensive option to be in, looking for this sort of thing to happen. But if we have, you could have had these two lines on here as known angles, known levels that it held here, or we're going to draw off of this, and then this one we're going to draw off of this, and set you up where I like to say X marks the spot. That's a good place for it to target. But then what's going to happen there? Is it going to have the strength to keep going up? No, it obviously rolled back down. So at this point, you can go to an option that's further out of the money, like the 6725, to see, okay, how is that one going to move? So if we do that right now, take a look at that, get something that's less expensive, and let's zoom in on this to see. Okay, so same setup. We've got kind of these hammering candles here. And if I zoom in on this, so much easier to set up a trade with $100 risk. You can just be getting in as it's hitting that or as it starts to leave, just bracket the range of the candle itself. So that's buying around, let's just say buying around 275 and a stop down at 175. And then you've got it above and below. And from there, that would have been a nice move. So 275, a few hundred points up on the options, you would have had to hold on to it till it gets back into contention with these previous highs through here, or the making new lows in the day. But you're not looking for a home run at this point. You're not looking for it to just completely collapse. That hasn't happened yet. And I'm hesitant to say the word yet just because of the framework that I drew in here. Let me get way back out. Let's go out to what's an hourly look like. So, see, it looks different in hourly. Let's look. Let's see if we can get this on here. So what I'm looking at is, what's preceding this bigger move. And I'm not trying to call tomorrow as a bigger move down, but the potential is there that we could do something like this. On this day, going back to, what was that, October 9th, we had a little bit of that curving sort of happening. And today we did, earlier in the day, we saw, but right at the end of the day, it was still selling off. I still think we have to rally some. We have to retest some, even to the purple line. And we did that over here. But we're freshly below the purple line. It's held this as resistance a couple other times when it's gotten below. So from here, broke down, retested sharply into the purple line, moved back down, chopped around, gapped up, rolled back down, right? This one here, we go a little further back. We had been below. We hadn't been above this yet and ran into that as a resistance. So those are the levels I'm looking at. I'm looking for where this purple line is, which is on the chart here at 67, 66.31. I'm looking at that as some resistance. It's played out really nicely as resistance. So if we can short off that and get an option that's a little further away because we've moved nicely through that, even like on a day like this, we continue to roll down quite a bit. So if you can be in a 6,700, I may be looking at that strike tomorrow. Let's see what the price is right now. Checking on my phone because you can be pretty quick on there and not have to change off this chart if I could get logged in. It's still logging in. So SPX options, the 6,700 put right now, expiring Thursday. It's one contract is 1350, so that's pretty expensive. Hopefully we can get a retest and run up into the purple line here, and that'll significantly drop the price of this option, probably closer to $500. That'd be much more reasonable, even probably around 500. If it's later in the day, even less than that, maybe even 300 or 200. But if we can get some resistance to come in and roll back down, we've got the potential to go down quite a bit more, especially when we get down to 65.50, somewhere in here. For sure past 6,600, but maybe not quite all the way to 65.50. Maybe by the end of the week, maybe next week. Maybe this won't be a Christmas rally right this week. Maybe that will happen next week. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But we can definitely look at the other options, look at what is this spelling out in terms of how the options are moving, where are we getting some recovery. You can see the put was bouncing around quite a bit more, whereas the call was just continued to droop lower and making lower highs and lower lows. And those are the ones you can read, but you don't want to be in that trying to make money on those. So there you go. All right. Hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.